Located in Central Africa, the DRC has a diverse population of 95 million people and over 250 different ethnic groups. This has often led to internal conflict and systematic corruption. Even presently, the country faces a massive humanitarian crisis.
The abundance of natural resources has also caused the economy and population to become vulnerable to corruption and exploitation. This can be seen during the reign of Leopold II, which infamously led to 15 million Congolese deaths and thousands of mutilations due to the demanding labour of sap collection for the Belgian rubber company. Presently, this interest can be reflected in China's investment in the DRC.
Due to the global shift and the Chinese economic reforms of 1978, which significantly reduced the amount of protectionist policies, China has become increasingly important within the tripolar economy and has an ever-growing economic global presence.
The graph shows that compared to the other global superpowers, the USA and the EU, China is growing as a globally competitive and dominant force compared to the shrinking influence of the West.
Chinese FDI has been focused in globalization initiatives such as the One Belt, One Road initiative, which aims to develop Chinese global infrastructure to increase trade and to stimulate economic growth. This has been largely focused in Africa, shown as China sends $2 to $3 billion in FDI to Africa annually.
The DRC has abundant deposits of natural resources such as gold, diamonds, cobalt, uranium, coltan and oil. It is home to the world's largest reserves of cobalt and the 7th largest reserve of copper.
China has been investing in the DRC since the 1970s, mostly with donations of infrastructure. However, in more recent decades, FDI focus shifted towards mining rare minerals such as coltan and cobalt, which are prominent materials in the production of lithium-ion batteries. China is the world's largest consumer of cobalt due to the large lithium battery market in China.
In 2008, Chinese investors signed a mining agreement with the DRC worth $6 billion. In return for mining stakes and tax benefits, the initial profits had to go to reimbursing the DRC by completing urgent infrastructure projects. Chinese state-owned firms agreed to build 2,400 miles of road, 2,000 miles of railway, 32 hospitals and 2 universities.
China now has a majority share of 70% of the mining sector in the DRC. This shows how China has almost complete power over mining in the DRC, which has led the economy, people and environment to be exposed to risk and uncertainty.
Chinese investment in infrastructure has increased economic potential due to greater connectivity and accessibility, and therefore greater attractiveness to the TNCs in other industries. The mining has also provided more jobs, bringing the unemployment rate to around the global average of 5.1%.
However, the DRC is still one of the poorest countries in the world according to GDP, which evidences that the DRC doesn't economically benefit from the Chinese investment. This is due to economic leakage back to China, both in product and profit. In 2023, a DRC report claimed China had exploited mineral resources worth $10 billion, but it only built infrastructure estimated to be worth $822 million.
The expansion of several Chinese-owned mines, causing thousands of evictions of entire communities without any grievances or settlements, can be seen in the city Geka mines, where over 39,000 people have been displaced due to expansion. The inadequate compensation led to many having to move to properties without power or running water. The expansions have also led to grievous human rights abuses, including sexual assault, arson and beatings.
Inequality has also grown due to political corruption, with 6% of the population being millionaires and 40% living in absolute poverty. This can be reflected in the Gini coefficient, which is relatively high.
Chinese companies often don't provide adequate environmental impact assessments or uphold the environmental safeguards, which has led to large, long-term environmental damage.
The DRC has faced many environmental issues, such as deforestation, soil erosion, air pollution and water pollution.
Recently, Chinese investors have been heavily criticised for both inadequate investment in infrastructure and for undermining local employment. In 2024, the 2008 deal was renegotiated with 2 Chinese companies who agreed to invest a further $4 billion into infrastructure.
However, this amount still doesn't rebalance the over $70 billion China has made from the DRC and doesn't account for the exploitative behaviour towards workers and inhabitants of mining communities. Therefore, the agreements have aspects of neocolonialism due to China's globally dominant power and influence compared to the more vulnerable nature of the DRC.
With an increased demand for clean technology and therefore rare metals, China seems to want to remain a dominant influence over mining in the DRC. The question therefore remains, is this just a development opportunity, or is there a deeper side to Chinese ambitions to have colonialism-like power over the DRC?